What we have here is another portion of our design process in the development stages of designing a product. And this is actually the 3D scanning portion, which we'll take an object and we'll 3D scan it to pull all the critical geometry off of it, and then take that and design a solid CAD model that we can then go in and machine and create a prototype. We use a Creaform 3D scanner. This is a portable scanner that we can take to an object if we want to scan it. This chain box cover I can do nicely at my desk because it's small, but if we want to scan a car for reference data to make a part for that, I can do that as well. We have the targets here set up. Creaform uses targets for tracking, and I'm going to scan the component that I then do some post-processing to eliminate all the unwanted areas that were scanned. And from there, it creates a mesh file. It's a polygon file that is made up of millions of different points of triangles that then I put into our solid modeling program, SolidWorks, and from there pull all of the critical geometries off of the faces, bolt locations, oiling provisions, things like that, to then create the solid model. Typically we will start with a 3D print just to verify all the surfaces, make sure it's going to fit in the given area. You can't really hold high tolerances with a 3D print, but it's typically best to start there to make sure nothing was missed. And then from there, we'll go to a Ren board version, which is the next step, a higher tolerance foam version of the part, and then to a billet version. .3D printing is a tool that we use to prove out objects throughout the design process. We're taking the solid model before we machine it and just printing a physical version of it. It can be either for reference fitment. Sometimes we're just making sure it physically fits in an object, or checking clearance around other things, check for bolt hole spacing, check for routing, and make sure everything fits properly. We typically go through the design phase. We'll create the model and print the part, and once that gets approval, we'll go through and machine the component out of Ren board. This kind of Ren board is a good way to prove out your machining cycle, and it's other than having to go through a chunk of billet to machine the part and finding out there's an error in the machining process, it saves tooling, and it's a bit quicker of a process than going through a billet. So this is a chain box cover for a 964, and this we printed, and it allows us to again fit on the chain box, make sure it works. It has all the tin mounting here and all the provisions to physically make sure it fits.